4, 3, 2, 1. I told you before to be careful where you put your legs.
I was only trying to be helpful.
I can help myself. What are you waiting for? Come on. Come on. What are you waiting for? Come on. Come on.
For 7 decades, Michael Caine has been among the world's most renowned and recognisable actors.
It was just what I needed. A 1-inch god with a 2-inch penis.
The star of classics like Zulu, The Man Who Would Be King, and The Cider House Rules.
It's a miracle no one was killed.
But also films that brought his career to the brink of complete implosion.
I made a mistake.
Somehow, he has always found a way back.
You're a big man, but you're in bad shape. With me, it's a full-time job.
In this epic podcast series, we will watch and review every Michael Caine movie, from the greatest hits
You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off.
to the incredible misses,
You failed to maintain your weapon, son.
and take a deep dive into the life and work of one of the world's most recognisable film stars.
His name is Michael Caine, and no one will forget his name.
To understand how he has made the mark of Caine.
Well, you all settled in? Right, we can begin. For God's sake, come in.
Hello and welcome to The Mark of Caine, our ongoing hike through the dense forest of the film career of Michael Caine, watching every single movie, from the ones that make you feel like the hills are alive to the others where you genuinely cannot see the wood for the trees. My name is Michael Foley and I'm joined as always by Stephen Black from Mallow News Twitter Emporium. We're off to Germany today, lad.
Oh yes, this is very exciting and not in any way painful.
No, this is completely enjoyable. Lovely yomp through the forests of central Germany.
I got to be honest with you, kid. I didn't realize that there was an appetite inside me for a film about the 30 Years' War. I wasn't even aware of the 30 Years' War, but now I'm so well informed, and I'm just hungry for more. I really just want to dive in more to what I can only imagine is the really long list of movies about this fascinating period of history.
It's a long list that stretches to precisely one. There was one movie made before this latest Caine opus about the 30 Years' War. And I'll be brutally
Kramer
honest.
versus Kramer.
Yeah, Kramer versus Kramer. A story of a warring couple, one Catholic, one Protestant, one a Pope, one a German prince. And they wanted to be together, but they couldn't be together. And they spent so long in the divorce courts and also sacking villages in central Germany. It's tough watch.
It is, yeah. And for anyone who's currently going, hang on, Kramer versus Kramer came out long after this movie, please. Facts with no place here.
It had absolutely no place, and absolutely no place in this conversation whatsoever. 30 Years' War. There's only ever been one movie done on the 30 Years' War. This, we are watching today, The Last Valley, is a movie based in the 30 Years' War. For anybody, I can't imagine there's many of you out there who don't know what the 30 Years' War was about. Basically, it was a European conflict in the 1600s that started out as a scrap between the Pope and the Protestants and degenerated into a bunch of faction fights where basically local princes and kings changed sides depending on when suited them and fought away. And of course, Stephen, who got screwed? The little guy.
It's always the little guy gets screwed in these kind of things. People never consider the little guy. The Pope's busy there flailing his nunchucks around fucking Germany, lopping off heads with his samurai sword, as is my understanding of history.
Yep.
Never once think that the poor peasant that he's just after beheading and kicking their head down a flight of stairs has a family to look after.
I had a family. And this is why Caine is here. He's making the point. This is another anti-war Caine movie. You remember, he said it at the top. He would never make a movie that glamorized war. I'm not even going to mention the Battle of Britain. This is his whole point. War is terrible. No one wins in war.
But not just war. He's putting a little pinch of religion salt in this as well.
Oh, yes.
Oh, religion sentiment. Just get that down, yeah. That really improves the taste. Like, I wouldn't mind that as a viewpoint, or but I mean, would it not be better to say I will never make a good movie that's pro-war?
A good movie that's pro-war. Well, he's okay on that front so far.
He's okay. He really is, because I think that's really what he meant.
Yeah.
Because everything that I've seen to date, I mean, again, they're all awful. They're all categorically dreadful. I think he would have been better off just, strapping a bulldog to his back, getting into a Spitfire and just fucking driving straight to Berlin and riddling Adolf Hitler with bullets, and just standing over his corpse, having a cup of fucking Yorkshire tea as the chimps for the ad massage his feet. The final shot is just him lobbing the gob on Queen Betty too. And a grateful nation flocks to the box office for years and years. Just would be so much better than just the kind of squirty, loose bowel movement of fucking anti-war movies that he's littered throughout his career. To date, yeah, I mean, there's more to come. We're only in the 70s. We're only fucking 10 years down.
We're 1971. We haven't gone far. I think we decided at some stage that the Battle of Britain would have been better if it was about Caine's dog and that. What do we call it? Mutt Spitfire or something like that? Do we call it Mutt Spitfire in the Battle of Britain?
Battle of Britain, Mutt Spitfire's Revenge or something like that.
Yeah. I think that would have been a better movie. And this Last Valley, I don't know. Look, anyway, let's just get into it. It's a movie set in a time that nobody ever asked to know about. Omar Sharif is in it, and a cast of characters that lurch somewhere between an anti-war movie and a Hammer horror flick. And there's Mick Caine doing a German accent. So this is The Last Valley.
In a time when the world was choked with hate and consumed by war, when a man had nowhere to run, no place to hide, suddenly, there was a valley. The Last Valley. And to this valley came two men. A man of violence.
Break open every house. We'll round up the peasants and fire the village at leisure.
Captain. And a man of peace.
Why such waste? Winter here. Live while your army dies.
Michael Caine is the captain.
If to kill is necessary, I do it. Without conscience.
So, before we start, I think it's fair, because I know where this conversation, I have a good idea where this is going to go. This movie is actually quite well regarded, or it was quite well regarded. It's completely forgotten now, but in 1971, it was kind of seen as a nice, tidy movie that gave some sense of a kind of fractured nature of Middle Europe that, laid the foundations for a still fractured Germany in 1971. And if the plot was awkward and meandering and kind of pointless, well, then it paid perfect tribute to the 30 Years' War itself. But, that's not really the point here, is it?
No, it's not the point. There is no point. My understanding is James Clavell is the director here, who according to an interview Caine gave, was captured as a soldier, was captured by the Japanese at the age of 14.
Okay.
Which, I mean, says a lot about the recruitment standards maybe in Australia. So it comes from a background of being a former prisoner of war. So you'd imagine wrote a popular book, King Rat, that was then made into a movie directed by Brian Forbes, who we've unfortunately met along our fucking journey to date.
The Wrong Box.
The Wrong Box, fucking Deadfall. Yeah. Great friend of
Mick Caine's. Great friend of
McCain's. Yeah. It's like as Matt McConaughey would say, time is a flat circle here, lads. But yeah, just coming from what you can only imagine as an anti-war, maybe an establishment position, is maybe taking this and wanting to, use. I mean, it's adapted from a book, so a lot of the groundwork is done from there. But wanting to use the background of the 30 Years' War to make a point about the futility of war and the dangers of fanaticism and zealotry, and that's all well and good. But if you want to make those points, you'd want to be making them clearly and well, which he does not. So, I mean, this veers wildly from scenes of violence to scenes of attempted rape to scenes of dancing, Satanism thrown in there for there's a little bit of Wicker Man thrown in. If this was about, God, what would you say? If this was about a bunch of lads who come across this untouched valley, this oasis during a period of strife, you would think, right, the ground is fucking ripe here for a kind of a Wicker Man style story. But why is it the mysterious lady of the shrine, like a hiding, like a pagan cult that is, ultimately ends up fucking, I don't know, nailing Mick Caine to a cross while he shouts, mine legs. He's herded into a fucking giant beehive or something. I don't know. But I don't more. Are you going to go through the plot? Because Jesus Christ.
Well, I am because I think at this point I'm sure people who haven't seen The Last Valley, not that there's many, are dying to know what this film is about. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to keep it as quick and as short as I can. Okay? I try to do that all the time anyway. But I am especially going to try and keep it short this time, right? So it starts with Omar Sharif, right, who plays a teacher called Vogel. And the first opening scenes are him scrambling away from the massacre of a village, and he's falling into pits of dead people killed by the plague, and there's people hanging from gallows, and it's all very grey and foggy and awful. And the next thing, he falls into this big, bright green valley with sunshine and haycocks, and, you know, that classic little German...
Sorry, hey, what?
Haycocks.
What the fuck is a haycock?
Haycock is a type of bale. You know, the little standing little things. Yeah.
So it's not something that St. Bridget's Cross gets when it's aroused.
No, it's not, Tomboy. It's a haycock. Anyway, so it's a classic...
Oh, sorry, I forgot he was talking to a son of the soil.
Exactly. Now, German village in the Glen Landed. It's beautiful. It's beautiful for about 2 minutes before a band of mercenaries who arrive in. They're led by the captain, who's played by Caine. They don't have any particular side in the war. They go wherever the payday is, and their plan here is to ravage the village, as they always do. But Sharif convinces them to winter there with the immortal line, "Live while the army dies." So, having knocked off a couple of henchmen to establish a voting majority, Caine agrees, and he brings the townspeople to heel. They're led by Gruber, who's played by Nigel Davenport, who's Caine's sidekick, people might remember, who watched Play Dirty. And so now you have Sharif as the middleman between the villagers and the soldiers. So, the mercenaries, they generally behave. Once they're given food, shelter, and women basically to rape, then one mercenary attempts to, and what would you call it, I suppose, an unauthorized rape of a local girl. And sorry.
Did you hear yourself say the words unauthorized rape?
I did. Yeah, okay, unsanctioned. Let me go back. And then one mercenary, I suppose, what would you call it? An unsanctioned rape, attempts an unsanctioned rape on a local girl and absconds with a group before returning with a bigger band of outlaws to the village. There's some A-team style prep for the attack, but the invaders get annihilated and the snow comes in and the village is cut off for the winter. Now, at this point, to my eyes anyway, it all got a bit Monty Burns and Homer buried in the log cabin during the avalanche. You know, we're not quite dressing the snowmen, but we're getting there. Like, the mercenaries clearly will have to leave when spring comes. So Caine brings his men away to a battle somewhere, orders Sharif to stay behind. That's the condition of not sacking the village. That makes no sense to me. I don't know what's going on there, but he basically says, I'm not going to sack the village if Omar Sharif stays here. I don't know what that's all about. After that, the captain's woman in the village, Caine's woman in the village, is caught indulging, as we mentioned there before, in a little bit of witchcraft. She gets burned at the stake by the local maniac priest, who gets pulled into the flames by one of the captain's men, who stayed behind and is pretty well sick of all the madness. And at this point, everyone's been in the valley a bit too long, including myself. The captain returns, having lost nearly all his men in this battle, walks straight into an ambush of locals. Sharif intervenes to stop him getting killed, but Caine dies anyway, but not before telling Sharif that he was absolutely right about staying in the village. And at that point, Sharif heads off alone into the foggy forest, happy that the village is saved. And that's it. That's pretty much it, isn't it?
It is. And I mean, if you're listening to this, if you haven't seen it and you're wondering, God, that all sounds a bit pointless, then congratulations. You've just right. Saved yourself 2 hours of your life.
Yeah.
Let's start with the beginning, where, God love us, you have Omar Sharif.
I'm sorry, actually, can I stop you there? When you said the beginning...
Can I stop you?
Can I stop you? When you said the beginning, can you actually rewind to just before the beginning? The opening credits had me in bits.
The opening credits was kind of a Tales of the Unexpected kind of animation.
That's exactly what it was, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't understand. Yeah, the credits. I mean, thank Christ. Like, whatever people say about some modern blockbusters not being as good as those in the olden days, but Jesus Christ, at least we got away from being forced to sit through the entire credits before you actually got to see any of the movie.
Yeah,
I don't want to see the fucking key grip's name before I get to the actual meeting to enter the fucking movie.
But it's more than that. I don't know how long the opening credits were, but basically. It's like there's an ornate crucifix that melts into two knights fighting, right? John Barry music, but it's basically like Russian kind of symphonic music.
Oh, there's kind of a Bond,
crossed with
strings.
It's got
string stabs. Oh yeah, God, it's awful.
And I'm laughing. I'm actually laughing at the end of it. And it's Tales of the Unexpected. It's 70s Tales of the Unexpected. And I actually said out loud while watching it, "What is Caine doing here? What's he doing here? in central Germany in the 1600s, and the movie hasn't even started.
Yeah, which I would say to you is we're old, but we're not that fucking old to have been around in 1971. But maybe there was a craze maybe it was the Yahoo series in 1971. Maybe the 30 Years' War was the Yahoo series of 1971. This fucking the Furby, the fucking the must-have toy for Christmas was a plague pit for kiddies. Maybe that's it. And they were just throwing money at fucking just here's a bag of cash, go away and make a movie about 30 years. All I can see are dollar bill size in front of my eyes. This would surely be a box office smash.
Get your Nigel Davenport Puritan hair hat. Perfect for all weathers.
Made from the finest asbestos. So yeah, you go from that, which sets the scene pretty much. You're kind of going, oh no, within it's 20 seconds. You're going, oh no, not again. Fucking post-traumatic Caine disorder. Yeah. Fucking gone. You're just gonna get the eye starts to twitch. Fucking flashbacks to the Mages, to the fucking deadfall. You go in and it opens with Omar Sharif, for all the world like a character from Monty Python's The Holy Grail, running very strangely through all he's missing is a pair of coconuts just to make the horsey noises. Stumbling across, like that scene you mentioned there in your synopsis of he tumbles down a hill and he lands in a pile of bodies and they have the plague, and then he turns around and he sees a gibbet of children, and then he sees a bunch of burning corpses. It's like the fucking Obama Plaza of torture. It's like a one-stop shop for all your fucking needs. It's like let's just throw as much kind of very bargain basement horror into one area, so we just get get the viewers on board with how terrible and tedious, how fucking the tedium comes via the movie, but how terrible and horrible this time is.
Yeah,
and it was just, oh god, no. And it's set to see the villagers that he meets, and the initial sacking of the village by Caine's troops is just so overwrought and so melodramatic, and it takes everybody about 15 seconds to die when they're stabbed, and there's mourning on the ground and moaning, and there's a feral child for some reason who's doing a bit of an old stabbing there as well, again because war makes monsters of us all, regardless of age, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we go to the village, which is entirely empty. We assume that the lads are all in hiding. That's the only reason I could think why the village was empty, because what village is entirely? I mean, are they bringing the babies out to work the fields?
I don't know. It's set up. I mean, you mentioned it there earlier, and maybe this should have been a Wicker Man type movie. Really, the village should have been the mystery and all of this. You know?
Yeah.
It's set up. I mean, you walk into an empty village in the 1600s. Oh, I can't imagine. They're not gone off driving off. They're not gone on for the weekend. Like all these people, there's not a match on that everybody's gone to.
No, it's not like some place in West Cork that's empty until the fucking dubs come down for the fucking weekend to the second homes.
No, you haven't. Like it's from the straight off. It's like, okay, let's see where this is going, but it doesn't feel great. And
then you have your next "oh Christ no" moment when Caine opens his mouth, and you realize, oh no, he's German. He's German Caine. As you say, putting on the Eric von whatchamacallit name.
It's one moment alive, one moment dead. You philosophers are such hypocrites. I only do what is necessary. No more. If to kill is necessary, I do it. Without conscience. Now, make peace with whatever God you worship.
We are introduced in The Last Valley about 16 years early, to Dr. Emil Schaffhausen from Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Is who we meet in The Last Valley.
Yeah, it is a slightly camp German accent that ever so often veers into Cockney.
I don't think it's that bad.
Oh, it's fairly bad. He can't say, you use your key phrases from Hurry Sunday. He still has, I don't know, did you have one that says close the door or shut the door or something like that? He has problems with saying that. But yeah, he opens it. And the way he's dressed, did you notice the costume? I can't imagine anyone getting away. He looks he can't walk in it.
Yes,
he's walking.
there's a lot of metal. He's wearing a lot of metal, isn't he? And
you know those fucking sumo suits that they rent out for corporate events, team building exercise, and he walks like he's wearing one of those. You see him in profile, he looks like he's 6 months pregnant, and that baby is fucking bearing down on him like. So fair play to him. He clearly the 2 bottles of vodka that he was putting away every day, blanked out that side of his vanity.
Well, let's not get too ahead of ourselves now. I'm not sure he's at that stage. There's this.
Oh, he is.
Oh, is he?
He is. Yeah. He lists that in the autobiography.
Because there is a story about a horse, isn't there? And vodka plays a role in bringing him back to earth after an incident with a horse. Veterans of Caine may remember that he had some issues in Zulu riding a horse. In fact, his very first scene in Zulu was on a horse, but it's not Caine because he can't ride a horse. Similar
because
problems.
He fell off the horse. He fell off the horse and hurt his hole essentially. And similarly on this, he was promised a docile mare. Because as every actor knows, you should only have a docile mare to ride when you're engaging in riding scenes. Mm-hmm. Was told that, got there in the scene, the horse was huge, got on the horse, because his scabbard was beating against the side of the horse. This all sounds like really bad fan fiction.
Docile mares and scabbards beating against the side of the horse.
While his scabbard beat it gently at the docile mare's rump. Flank of there. It went into gallop, took him off for ages. Caine was fucking furious, came back, went into a huge tantrum. The director took him to one side and just said, basically, you made a disgrace yourself there, really. You really need to, when you lose your temper, you let yourself down. Mm-hmm. And so I think Clavel was kind of channeling the kind of Japanese sensibilities that he picked up as a result of being in a Japanese prisoner of war camp, because of the way he said it's all about honor and maintaining your honor and all about that. And Caine, as always in every story, after that, I never lost my temper again.
I like the way you've now aligned honor and fair play to Japanese prisoner of war camps. I think there may be people might have an issue with that.
No, I mean, see, Clavel himself said the prisoner of war camp was his school, it was his university, where he learned he learned counterfeiting, learned different languages, learned about the Japanese Japanese code of honor. All of this, of course, by the way, beating the odds of actually fucking surviving it, because I think it was a 1 in 4 chance of you actually surviving. The prisoner of war camp, I think, was in Singapore at the time.
Wow. Okay.
But yeah, moving on from prisoner of war, from awful prisoner of war camp stories, back to the awful movie that we were forced to watch, which I think is on a par with having to participate or being a participant in a Japanese prisoner of war camp.
I wouldn't like to compare the two. I wouldn't like to compare the two. I'll be honest.
I think that's fair, because I think you, first of all, you'd have to find a prisoner of war veteran and then make them watch the last one. I think they've probably gone through enough.
I think they certainly have gone through enough. What else have we got here? So are we on to Caine's performance here, really? We're getting into the accent now.
I think, yeah, just kind of maybe run our fingers through the rest of the plot, like fucking Russell Crowe in Gladiator. So yeah, I'm thinking you're about hair, right? Do you ever notice it's a thing around the 70s in like period films and in cowboys? There's always one member of cast who fucking refuses to get his hair cut to inappropriate. There's always one lad who goes for the Brian Jones Beggar's Banquet bowl cut.
Always,
it always takes me out of it. There's your man Hansen, the guy who tries to perform the unsanctioned rape.
Yeah.
In this movie is rocking one of those, and he always goes. It completely takes me out. It's the same in Clint Eastwood's westerns. It is westerns. it is westerns. And there's always one or two lads in it who are just going, no, it just takes you completely out of it. You're going, no, that hairstyle is no business.
You have clearly been in somewhere like, I don't know, whatever, the Whiskey A Go-Go till 5 o'clock in the morning, and you've gone straight to set. Cut your hair. Cut your hair.
Clearly done coke with Gene Clark from fucking from the Birds, you know?
Yeah. So yeah, it does throw you, and like there's a lot of bad haircuts. A lot of bad acting, a lot of overacting. Actually, let me ask, there is a lot of overacting now in this. Like, what are your favorite? I have a few favorite overacting bits in this. What are your favorite bits?
My favorite one is where Omar Sharif does his "I Have a Dream" speech up by the Lady of the Shrine.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
That's like, this is just, you could really smell the ham just emanating off the screen. It's like it's like Christmas Day.
Just to explain it, basically the mercenaries want to move a religious shrine, and Sharif gives this huge speech to the entire village that and I could actually see the edges of my television screen starting to chew a bit, starting to come away. It was like one line. It doesn't matter what he really said, but basically he was saying it came to him in a dream that it was a good idea to move the shrine. You wouldn't defy a dream, would you? I like, oh my God, what am I doing? Why am I watching this film?
Why is the director not going, cut, Omar? Any chance he could have dialed it back by about 20? Because this is awful.
A man who can dial it back, and you can see in this movie at times, is clearly able to dial it back, but is guilty of some of the worst overacting. When he's given encouragement, I get the impression, anyway, when he's given encouragement to let it all out there, it goes off, it just careers off the road into a huge ball of flames. Ball of flames.
Break open every house. We round up the peasants. Fire the village at leisure.
What are your own high points for the Ham?
Well, that speech was probably my favourite, but there is a piece at the very start when Caine is trying to establish a vote majority to stay in the village, and one of his mercenaries kind of gives this "get behind me, Satan" sort of speech because there's a church in the village, and he goes blah, blah, whatever. He just goes nuts. What else? Oh, there's a guy who's impaled on a wooden spike at one stage, and I mean, it's not a nice way to go, but I mean, he screamed. He actually, some of the death cries in this make Zulu look very subtle, you know. Oh, and of course, our friend the Cossack. There's a Cossack in the middle of it all who looks like he's a member of the Dubliners, licking blood off a knife.
Yeah, he looks like he's just finished off a full Irish, and he's licking blood off a knife like it was fucking ketchup.
Yeah,
or a bit of bean, or a good bit of bean juice.
There's also a speech towards the end that, again, when you go reading and looking at things by reviewers and people who are really into Michael Caine's career, this is a very well-regarded speech that he gives about the futility of war. It's really just, it's like he's dispensing Pez pellets, you know, of anti-war wisdom. You know, it's like, there is no just war. Your war is filth and greed and hypocrisy, religious fanatics inciting murder. There is no God. And it's just, oh God, somebody stop him. Somebody step in there, please.
But it also comes out of nowhere. At no stage do you feel that his character is bottling all of this up. It comes so completely out of fucking left field, and you kind of go, well, Jesus, you know, I'm sorry that you feel that way. We certainly didn't express it during any of the stage of the film, but had we known about it, then maybe we could have addressed your issues.
Maybe we can all have a flagon of mead and sit down and talk it out. We'll get some of the wenches to bring some food in from the fields, and look, we can sort it out, like.
And if it's a workload issue, look, we can talk to the rest of the lads and we just distribute work. And you take some mindfulness time now. You sit and you think about yourself and how we can maybe work together more to help you.
We can spread the load. Gruber here, Nigel Davenport. I know. Look, as you've had your differences, he can take some of the load off you. Look, I understand you don't have a line manager you can go to talk to. You're shouldering a lot here now, but look, there's no need to be going on about no God and war is this and war is that and Satan this and all the rest of it.
You're after making Father Charles Manson cry.
Look at him over there in the corner. He's going to go off and create a different cult now in a different village because of you. And he's been here a long time. He's put roots down, you know.
And when we're getting another parcel of severed heads in the post, to be you opening it.
Well, you can be sure of that. By the way, did you notice as well, for a blonde man, Caine looks very ginger in this film.
Sorry, can I correct you? For a ginger man, Caine looks appropriately ginger in this film.
He's a blonde man. He does not have.
You'll eventually come around to this, and you know I'm right. It's your ginger denial is something to you'll be cancelled.
Yeah, fine.
Your ginger denial, you know that.
I don't care. I'm happily cancelled. He's blonde. Caine's good in this, but it's good in the way that the rest of the cast is so horrendously erratic. Like he's boxing a million miles below his weight here, in my opinion. Anyway, he's way. What's he doing here at all?
He gets a special pointing gauntlet, which I thought was a new one. You see that he had
did
a
actually, yeah.
little metal pointing gauntlet, which I wonder if that was part of his contract.
There was some, and there was some Charlie Croker style Italian job.
Well, that's now he's discovered that, and now like anyone who's discovered something that they're good at, you just fucking run it into the ground, until the end of time, until he gets into his current period, which is my arm is now too tired. All I can do is just cut food and shovel it into my mouth while I get through the 5 or 6 lines of dialogue that I have.
Thank you, Christopher Nolan. Like, it could be said, like, I mean, he could say about The Last Valley that it's a movie that I am in with Omar Sharif, right? But really, it's a movie that he's in with a lad that he knew from the Italian Job, right? His mate Nigel from Play Dirty, the weird doctor from Deadfall, a young and quite buff Brian Blessed, and another lad.
Fit Brian Blessed. I mean, Jesus, like, if there are any ladies listening to this, and God knows there aren't, Google image Brian Blessed, The Last Valley, and you'll think differently about the leader of the Hawkmen. Anyway, I tell you that much.
He looks like something out of Mad Max. And so you got a buff Brian Blessed, and you've got one other lad who will be a Hawkman alongside Blessed in Flash Gordon in another 10 years or so. Like, that's what I mean. Boxing way below his weight. Like.
Yeah, again, I think he perceives it was I don't know why he did this. I don't think he knows why he did it. And he thought about it. If he doesn't really mention work, that he thought they did good work. But he knew by the time he flew home, for some reason he knew that it wasn't going to work.
It's another example of a movie with big ideas that Caine takes on. That's obviously been sold very nicely to him. It's got anti-war sentiment. It's got big notions about itself. You mentioned them all at the top there, and it just completely just doesn't work because the script is bad. The people who are working on it aren't very, very good, and he lifts everything because he's just effortlessly better than everybody else in the film. But to be honest with you, like, we were giving him a pass a little bit on this stuff for other movies in the 60s. I'm less inclined to give him a pass now. He's been, like, at this point in his life, what is he, about 38? I mean, it's time. Yeah. It's time now to start making some choices here, and we know how that's going to work out.
Yeah, you are coming across a bit like a parent who's now with some latitude on the old PlayStation, Xbox Online usage, but now is adamant that they're going to be changing the Wi-Fi password so they can't go on with their friends online and bully old people.
I'm much too.
But you know full well, as soon as the fucking midterm break comes along and you have to end up actually spending time with them or doing something constructive, you'll be handing over that new Wi-Fi code within fucking seconds.
Yeah. Go out and make more movies. Yeah, I'm just too invested in this now. I'm sitting down going, I'm watching these below par Caine movies going, what are you doing to yourself? Like, you are so much better than this. But look, this is what we signed up for, I suppose. We knew this was coming. And to be fair, like, we've done 17 movies so far. The Last Valley is the 17th movie that we've really looked at in depth. And you could say that he's had 4 classics out of 17, I think. That's a very good strike rate, I suppose, like, for that. But it's just the gap between the good ones to the bad ones is just
I mean, like, you wouldn't mind if you made 4 classics and like 10 okay movies and then 7 absolute fucking turkeys, but it's not. It's like it's a real Mariana's Trench fucking drop in quality.
It is. Anyway, anything else that I've kind of I pulled this off there into Caine world. Is there anything else you want to touch on about The Last Valley?
Yeah, just one story where Caine goes on about the fact that his hotel room was a mess the entire time because Omar Sharif's room was 2 doors up for him and the chamber bays never made it past his room.
Oh, okay.
For whatever reason, and that's I'm putting big air quotes because that's what he does himself in the book. Is if you couldn't just say because Omar Sharif was riding the whole off everything that came past him. No, it was a case of you fill in the gaps there, dear reader.
Yeah, Omar Sharif looks fairly wrecked in some of these scenes, so there might be a connection between the two things. The movie reinforces, just to me, at this point in his career, I'm having a whole problem placing Michael Caine in the firmament of movie stars in 1971 to one because of these movies. You've got a better handle on it than I do, but right now, to me, he's a big UK film star. He's by a mile the biggest star in the UK. This movie cost about $6 million. It made nothing. Whatever it made, it did quite well in the UK. It did nothing at all in America. And it strikes me that his best movies so far are his most popular movies, at least, like Ipcris File, Italian Job, Zulu Alfie, in terms of performance anyway, Alfie. They're all very British. Like, his Hollywood movies are Gambit, meh, good, but meh. Hurry Sundown, appalling, and would Deadfall wouldn't really be a Hollywood movie as such. So like he's huge in Europe, clearly huge in Europe with a footprint in America, but I don't know, he's not a Hollywood superstar like we know him to be. Do you know what I mean?
But do we? I think that's the whole point. Was he a Hollywood superstar, or was he just somebody who was who basically piggybacked on his UK fame with his early success and managed basically to translate that success and that visibility into a long-term career as a so-called character actor? Because he's not a character actor; he's a movie star. I don't care what Caine
he claims
to be a character actor. But I mean, Jesus Christ! Anyone who says it takes 50% of your brain to do an accent is not a character actor. You know. Just because you were in rep for years does not make you a character actor. It doesn't, like, and he's not. Now I may there may be I may have to fucking walk that back for later movies, but I don't anticipate it. I think always on the screen you were seeing Michael Caine. He never disappears fully into a role. It's always you're seeing the essence of Caine.
Yeah,
sprayed on the screen. So I think that's what it is. We'll see how we feel by the end of the 70s, but I think that's definitely. I think we've seen the box office smashes gone. The top 10. That US fame that he would have gotten, I guess, off the back of like the Ipcris File and Zulu to a certain smaller extent.
Well,
they're weaker. That profile is gone, and it's these smaller roles or these smaller movies that kind of he parlays into his career for up until now, essentially.
I think as well as that, I suppose in this era that we're at now, 1971, it's just before he moved to America. Like he's still living in the UK. So that possibly
he's just bought a house. He's just bought a house. In Stratham, I think. Oh no, okay. He buys him. He's just after buying a house for his mother in Stratham, and giving that to her. And then he's after buying a house in the countryside, so with a couple of acres of land that he's using. At this stage, he says he's drinking 2 bottles of vodka a day, which I don't know how you do that. I mean, I don't know how you like. You'd want to be starting as soon as you get up.
I mean that is unbelievable. That is unbelievable. I just even the thought of it. But these are things that are going to become more prevalent as we go through the 70s. Maybe it's when he starts making more Hollywood movies, obviously, when he moves to America. As you say, right now, it's these sort of character movies with a kind of a more of a British... I mean, as I said, even The Last Valley did well in Britain, didn't do so well in the US. And also, he's getting that strike rate that he talks about as well. He's getting his hits in just at the right time to generate... Like, say, Ipcris happens, he gets Gambit. Alfie happens, he gets a couple of invites to a couple of more movies that are, in theory, a little bit more lucrative for him and stuff. But he's timing it right. His next movie is quintessential British again, but it's going to open up another door for him. Like we're out of The Last Valley and we're into Get Carter next. Yeah,
looking forward to that. I have not seen Get Carter.
Really?
I've seen what I can only imagine be the far superior remake by starring Sylvester Stallone and also Michael Caine, so we can look forward to that as well when we hit the 90s.
Wow, there might even be an argument to bunch the two of them together for the next episode. That's something to consider.
No, I've seen that, and I'd rather just have a fresh palate after Get Carter because it's supposed to be great,
Okay, I've seen Get Carter, and I'm looking forward to seeing it again. It's another one of his signature performances. It's just a higher standard of staring, pointing, brooding, aggression, higher standard of everything, really. So yeah, I think we'd probably leave it there. Marks for Caine. Of course, we're not marking the film as such. We're marking the performance here. And I'm going to be a bit more rough on him now than I might have been before this.
Yeah, what are you weighing it now? We're weighing as we get a decade in. We're weighting these slightly now as we are weighted down ourselves by the trauma that we're carrying from his movies in the 60s. So whereas maybe I would have been giving this a 6 out of 10, I'm going 5.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm 5 as well. I mean, we gave him, in Play Dirty, for example, we gave him 6. Looking back now, if that was made now, I'd probably give him a 5. Billion Dollar Brain, we gave him 6 as Harry Palmer. I think he was better in Billion Dollar Brain than he is in this.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I know that, I know that like Last Valley is a forgotten film, but I do know that people who have seen this rate his performance quite high in this, but it just didn't do it for us. 5, I think, is 5 is where it's at. Next up is Get Carter. Thank you, oh blessed shrine of the valley.
Yes, Blessed Lady of the Shrine. Is it Blessed Lady of the Shrine or Blessed Lady of the Valley?
Blessed Lady of the Shrine.
Blessed Lady of the Shrine. Because Blessed Lady of the Shrine is kind of fucking very unimaginative. You're a lady and you're in a shrine.
To be fair,
Blessed Lady of the Valley would be more specific.
To be fair, imagination and invention is at the core of the Last Valley. The only thing that's imaginative, and I mean, talk about applying your imagination in the wrong direction. The only thing imaginative in this is actually setting it in the 1600s in an obscure European war that everybody has forgotten about.
Yeah, well, hopefully we've done our bit now to bring it back into the spotlight and maybe once again start the trend of 30-year war movies.
Yes, let's hope that we'll see. I don't know who would be good in it. Well, Caine's modern equivalent, Matthew McConaughey, sitting astride a huge horse, swaddled in metal, pointing towards a valley.
And I tell you this, if you asked any cinema-goer if they wanted to see Matthew McConaughey ride a docile mare and stroking it with his scabbard, I think they would say yes.
That's a very different kind of movie to The Last Valley. Right, so Get Carter. Let everybody go and see it. It's easy to find online and everywhere else. And we will reconvene back here and hopefully be in much better form for this one than we were for the Last Valley.
Absolutely. And don't forget, as usual, if you have any questions for us about Get Carter, hit us up on Twitter at MarkofCaine2. Fuck you, MarkofCaine1. So that's 2 separate accounts, I should point out. It is at MarkofCaine2. Pause. Fuck you, MarkofCaine1. Just to be clear that we were not associated with them in any way, but they got there before us.
What a broadcaster. What a broadcaster.
I'm like Pat Kenny. Get out of my garden. You're not building that home here. Grrr. Young people. Until then, we'll see you next week.
See ya.
That's it for this week's episode. Thanks for listening. Make sure to like and subscribe. Maybe leave a comment. Only nice ones, though. Mean comments will make Alfie cry, and no one wants to see that. The Michael Caine podcast is written, researched, and presented by Stephen Black and Michael Foley, and edited by Andrew Foley. Music is composed by Stephen Black. If you'd like to get in touch, you'll find us on Twitter at Mallow News and at MarkofCaine2. And if you enjoyed this episode, you'll find all the rest wherever you get your podcasts. The Mark of Caine is a Mallow News 2 Cubes production. See you next time.